Some years ago, outside the Dáil, I met with a large group of retired workers, and I'm sure most of you here did. It was days before the budget, and protests are not unusual in that period, back in the day before COVID, and they were there to represent their grievances and issues that affected them. And what struck me at the time of the protests was that they were very well organised, wearing their high-vis jackets, their emblems, very disciplined, very orderly, very impressive. They weren't your, thousands of school kids against climate or people with a political axe to grind, but they were very serious about what they were there for. And what was striking about their protest was their age profile. They were retired workers from across the public sector, semi-state and private industry, men and women who'd worked all their lives, often literally since their childhood, from the ages of 15 and 16, in one particular semi-state company or one particular part of the private sector. And they were men and women who gave service, gave their lives of labour, saw many recessions, fought many campaigns to improve their livelihoods and the rights of their colleagues in their respective trade unions and workplaces. They were the very epitome of the cohort that our Taoiseach likes to refer to when he's claiming to represent the interests of ordinary people. They got up early every day and they paid all their bills and they paid their taxes. And then they end up outside Dáil and protesting, asking us to listen to their grievances. And while they assembled there from various workplaces, both private and public, it seemed to be about why their pensions were under attack. And not just why or how their pensions were under attack, but the fact that they were left out of the discussion about what was to happen to their income, to their livelihoods for the rest of their lives. No say or no voice in a process that was there to change the terms and conditions of their pensions and their livelihoods. So the hurt was the common thing that I felt was across the board with them. And we're not talking about retired workers who had gold-plated pensions. They weren't quibbling about hundreds of thousands of euro. They were asking for a say in what is really deferred wages, which is the golden rule of pensions. They are, and it is the truth, deferred wages. So in those various scenarios where workers were having their pensions affected, they wanted to have a say on it. So what this bill will do, it will address the underlying economic and social injustice done to pensioners who have no say in what happens to their pensions. In other words, when the words of one retiree, the purpose of this bill is to have nothing about us without us. It will simply ensure that retired workers are consulted and involved in a process which will affect their pensions, and if they see the need, to be able to take a case as a collective to the WRC, which is currently prevented and not allowed to them. And it would ensure that they are in the room when deals are being done that will materially affect their livelihoods. I want to thank those group of retired workers, and many of them have here endorsed this bill, the measures of which will seek to ensure that their voice is heard both in the WRC and on the boards of trustees. And in the words of the Semi-State Retired Staff Association, to you, all of you deputies and others in this House, this proposed bill represents a most important step forward for the rights of retired employees. For years now, we've lobbied for such a change to rectify the injustice of former employees having effectively no voice in regard to their own pensions. We strongly advocate for your support of this simple but elegant measure. And I'm asking deputies to support. I want to thank Owen in my office, who's put a huge amount of work into this, and to the staff in the OPLA who have cooperated and worked extremely hard on it. But most of all, I want to thank the tens of thousands of retired workers who gave service to this country, to industries across this country, and who deserve to be recognised in a way that they can still be around the table when their livelihoods are being affected, when something they have worked for all their lives, which is a form of a pension payment, is being stripped away from them without them having any say or any knowledge in it. So from that perspective, for all of us, because we will all grow old, we are all growing older by the minute, from that perspective this bill affects all of us and all of our futures, and I hope that it will pass through these Houses. So I move the bill